watching closely here as this Chinese fighter jet intercepting the Canadian Armed Forces Aurora plane that we're on board. It's within a few meters of the wing.
You are cruising at 21,000 feet above the East China Sea. It is 8:47 in the morning. The sky is clear. Everything is calm. Your job today is simple. Find the ghost ships, photograph them, send the evidence to the United Nations. Go home. You have done this 100 times. Nothing ever happens. Except today. Today is the day China decides to send its most advanced killing machine directly at your aircraft. And here's the part that will blow your mind. By the time it was all over, Canada had secretly stolen one of China's most classified military secrets. And China had absolutely no idea. Let me take you back to that morning. A Canadian Air Force Aurora patrol plane is on a surveillance mission over the East China Sea. Below them, a suspicious ship is riding dangerously low in the water, tanks completely full, with its automatic identification system switched OFF. That means this ship does not want to be tracked, does not want to be found. The name on the hull has been freshly painted over, a different shade than the rest of the boat. The profile matches 3 vessels on the United Nations watch list. This is a North Korean tanker running illegal cargo in direct violation of international sanctions. The Aurora descends from 21,000 feet to 15,000 feet, angling its MX-20 electro-optical turret. A camera so powerful it can read numbers on a ship from 25,000 feet, directly at the target below. Infrared shows heat blooming from the engine room. The ship has been running hard to make this rendezvous. The crew is recording everything, transmitting to the UN enforcement cell in real time. Routine, professional, clean, and then the warning panels explode. At exactly 8:47 local time, the electronic warfare display inside the Aurora lights up with a signal that makes every trained pilot's blood run cold. A Chinese fire control radar, sharp, focused, closing fast. This is not a search radar. A search radar looks for you. A fire control radar aims at you. Someone out there is not looking for the Aurora. They are pointing a loaded rifle directly at it. The co-pilot spots it visually at the 11 o'clock position, a dark shape dropping out of the morning haze. Twin engines trailing contrails as it dives toward their altitude. The aircraft is accelerating, not slowing. This is not a standard intercept. This is not a warning. This is a rehearsal for shooting them down. The J-16 crosses their nose at 400 feet. At their combined closure rate of nearly 900 miles per hour, the margin between an intercept and a mid-air collision is less than 1 second. The wake turbulence hits 3 seconds later like an invisible wall. The Aurora shudders violent. It rolls 15 degrees to the left. The autopilot disconnects. The pilots are fighting 140,000 pounds of patrol plane back to level flights with their bare hands. In the cargo bay, a sensor operator grabs his console as his coffee mug launches itself across the compartment and shatters against the wall. The captain holds their heading. Canada is not running. The J-16 turns around. 30 seconds later, it materializes off their left wing, 300 feet away, close enough to count the rivets on its fuselage, close enough to watch the pilot's oxygen mask move as he keys his radio. The voice comes through in Mandarin-accented English. Canadian aircraft, you are approaching Chinese territorial airspace. Turn around immediately. The Canadian captain keys his own radio. His response will be quoted in news reports around the world within 24 hours. He says, "I am a Canadian aircraft operating in international airspace, carrying out the duties of all nations." Silence. The J-16 holds position. Its fire control radar is still transmitting, still locked. The Chinese pilot probably thinks the silence is intimidate. He probably thinks the sustained radar lock demonstrates dominance. He probably thinks he is winning. He has absolutely no idea what he is actually doing. Because those bumps and bulges you see running along the Aurora's fuselage, those are not decorations. That is the ANQAL Q507 Electronic Support Measure Suite. A digital vacuum cleaner that silently, invisibly, sucks up every single electronic emission within 200 miles and catalogs it forever. The moment that J-16 radar touched the Aurora, Canada started recording. Radar frequencies, pulse patterns, beam steering characteristics, power outputs. The J-16's radar is China's most advanced and indigenous design that supposedly rivals the best Western systems in the world. Every military on Earth has spent years trying to figure out exactly how it works. This Chinese pilot just started broadcasting the complete answer, live, for free. But the pilot is not finished. He wants to scare them off, so he starts maneuvering. The J-16 slides forward along their flight path, then cuts hard across their nose. 200 feet of clearance. Maybe less, forcing the Canadians to fly directly through superheated jet exhaust still rolling off the twin WS-10B turbofans at 1100 degrees Fahrenheit. The Aurora bucks like it has been hit. Engine number 3 coughs as the disrupted airflow momentarily starves the compressor. The aircraft drops 200 feet before the pilots can recover. Turboprops clawing back towards stable flight. First real damage assessment. Engine instruments normal. No permanent harm. But that was close. And the Chinese pilot? He probably felt satisfied watching them struggle. What he does not realize is that his throttle response during that cut, the exact acceleration curve of those wattles, has just been logged in Canadian databases. Military engineers who have spent years trying to model J-16 performance just got their answer handed to them on a silver plate. The fighter then climbs 500 feet above them and rolls inverted, completely upside down. The J-16 hangs there for 3 full seconds, its pilot staring straight down through his canopy at the Canadians below, grinning inside his oxygen mask, pure showmanship. Then it completes a lazy barrel roll completely around the Aurora's fuselage, over the top, past the tail, coming around the right side, before settling back off the left wing. The wing rocks left, right, left. The international signal for follow me. The Aurora maintains heading 0. The first J-16 finally breaks off. The crew inside the Aurora barely has time to exhale, because a new contact appears on scope, bearing 270, coming from the west, descending through the morning sun, using the glare to mask its approach. Same aircraft, same J-16, but as it resolves through the haze, the crew feels the difference immediately. The pylons under its wings are not empty this time. PL-15 radar-guided missiles hang from every inboard station. 200-kilometer range, active radar seeker. The Place-to-15 is China's answer to the American AMRAAM, whether it actually performs. As well as the missile it copied remains untested in combat. But right now, in this moment, those 4 missiles could turn the Aurora into a debris field over the East China Sea before anyone on the ground even knew what happened. The J-16 does not bother with a radio call this time. No demands, no territorial airspace claims, no pretense of diplomacy, just a fighter boring in at 600 knots with its radar in full track mode and its missiles clearly visible on every pylon. The crew moves to battle station. Every camera on the aircraft orients toward the incoming threat. The MX-20 captures the weapons load in perfect high definition. Pylon attachments, missile seeker heads. The exact configuration that will tell Allied analysts everything about how China loads out its fighters for an intercept mission versus an air superiority sweep. The J-16 crosses their nose at 300 feet. The pilots do not flinch. It immediately reverses into a 7G turn nose, coming around faster than the Aurora could possibly react even if it wanted to, completes 180 degrees in 6 seconds, and bores back in from directly behind them. It climbs through their altitude, rolls at the top, and at 200 feet directly above them, the pilot looks straight down through his canopy one more time. Then he completes the roll, brings his jet around on their right side, and deliberately rocks the aircraft. 4 missiles, all visible, all very real. The armed J-16 slides into close formation off the Aurora's right wing, 130 feet. The crew can stare directly across the gap into the Chinese pilot's cockpit. Then he starts drifting closer. 130 becomes 100. 100 becomes 80. The wingtips are converging. At this distance, a single sneeze on the control stick means collision. 60 feet now. 4 wing lengths between survival and catastrophe. 30 seconds of sustained formation flight. The fighter's radar is still transmitting from point-blank range. At this distance, the ANQALQ-507 is measuring details that radar engineers dream about. Side lobe characteristics, frequency drift, the subtle harmonics that reveal the radar's internal operating temperature. Data that would take years of signals intelligence to gather through normal means. And then the J-16 pilot makes his final move. The fighter surges forward on afterburner, white-blue cones of flame stretching 20 feet behind the twin engines, climbs through their altitude 400 feet ahead, and then cuts his throttles to idle. Dead stop. The Aurora's closure rate jumps from 0 to 150 knots in 2 seconds. 400 feet becomes 300. 300 becomes 250. The stick shaker activates. The stall warning screams in their headsets. 200 feet. The collision alarm begins blaring. 150 feet. The fighter fills the windscreen completely. 8 seconds to impact. 7, 6. If they slow down any further, the Aurora will fall out of the sky. Maintain speed and they fly straight into the J-16's tail. Turn away and Beijing gets footage of a Canadian aircraft maneuvering aggressively on every news network by morning. 5 seconds. The Chinese pilot looks back through his canopy. Checking. Waiting. Has 20 minutes of escalating aggression finally cracked their nerve? 4 seconds. 3. The captain's hands are locked on the yoke. He is not moving. The co-pilot's eyes never leave the airspeed indicator. 2 seconds. 75 feet. The fighter fills every inch of the windscreen. 1 second. The J-16's engines erupt back to life. The fighter accelerates and dives simultaneously, passing beneath them with 100 feet to spare. The jet wash hits immediately. Engine number 4 compressor stalls. The Aurora yaws violently to the right. Asymmetric thrust tries to flip the aircraft. The pilots feed in full opposite rudder. Fight the power differential. The airframe shakes. 4 seconds later, engine 4 relights. The aircraft stabilizes. The J-16 is already climbing away to the west. It is gone. 9 hours after takeoff, the Aurora touches down at Kadena Air Base. all 4 engines intact, all crew members unharmed. The MX-20 footage of that North Korean tanker transferring illegal cargo is already being reviewed by United Nations analysts and streaming in real time throughout the entire encounter. Every radar signal, every engine signature, every weapons system emission from both Chinese fighters is already sitting inside Five Eyes intelligence database. The Chinese pilots are probably telling their commanders they successfully intimidated the Canadians. They probably think they won. They have no idea that in their attempt to scare one patrol plane away from the East China Sea, they handed Western militaries the complete technical blueprint for their most advanced fighter aircraft.